Have you ever wondered if your dog is feeling anxious? Just like humans, dogs too can experience anxiety, and it's more common than you might think. Understanding the signs of anxiety in dogs is vital for their well-being. Dogs communicate their feelings differently, and it's up to us to decipher their language. You see, anxiety in dogs can manifest in various ways. Some dogs might pant excessively, while others might pace or become restless. There might be instances of excessive barking or howling, shivering or shaking, or even aggression and fear. Each of these behaviours can be a cry for help from your furry friend, an indication of their discomfort or distress. But don't worry, recognising these signs isn't as daunting as it sounds. With a little knowledge and understanding, you can help your pet navigate their anxieties. Remember, our ultimate goal is to ensure our pets lead a content and stress-free life. Recognising these signs can help your dog lead a happier, healthier life. The first sign of anxiety in dogs we'll discuss is excessive panting. Now, panting is a completely normal behaviour for our canine friends. It's their way of cooling down and can be quite common after a fun-filled fetch session or a long walk. However, when this panting becomes excessive or seems out of context, that's when we might need to consider anxiety as a potential cause. Excessive panting can look like long, drawn-out breaths, sometimes accompanied by a wide-open mouth and an extended tongue. The key to differentiating it from normal panting is context and duration. If your dog is panting heavily after a nap on a cool day, or if the panting continues for an extended period of time without any apparent reason, it might be more than just them catching their breath. Remember, you know your dog best. If your dog is panting excessively, it might be time to investigate further. Another possible sign of anxiety in dogs is pacing or restlessness. You've probably seen your dog get excited and start to pace when you're getting ready for a walk or playing fetch. But when a dog is anxious, this pacing behaviour can become more pronounced and last for longer periods of time. This restlessness might present as a dog who can't seem to find a comfortable spot or who keeps moving from place to place. Anxiety-induced pacing differs from regular activity in that it often seems aimless and can occur at odd times. For instance, if your dog is pacing back and forth in the middle of the night or during a time when they'd usually be relaxing, this could be a sign of anxiety. Dogs may also show restlessness by not being able to settle in one place. They might constantly shift positions, stand up only to lay back down again, or seem generally uneasy. Anxiety could be the cause if your dog can't seem to settle or is constantly pacing. Excessive barking or howling can also be a sign of anxiety in dogs. Now, we all know dogs bark. It's their way of communicating. But when it becomes excessive, it might signal a deeper issue. So what does excessive look like? Well, if your usually quiet dog suddenly starts barking or howling frequently or for prolonged periods, especially when left alone or during certain situations, then it's likely not just normal vocalization. This behavior might indicate anxiety because dogs, like us humans, express their discomfort in various ways. When they're anxious, they might feel the need to speak up more, to express their distress or to get your attention. They might also bark or howl excessively due to fear or to self-soothe. It's their way of dealing with the uncomfortable feelings they're experiencing. So if your dog is being excessively vocal, it might be more than just a noisy habit. It could be a cry for help, signalling that your furry friend is dealing with anxiety. Shivering or shaking is another sign that your dog might be anxious. It's a common misconception that dogs only shake when they're cold or wet, but that isn't always the case. In fact, shivering or shaking in dogs can often be a sign of emotional distress or anxiety. So, what does this look like? Well, your dog might be standing still, but their body is trembling. It can be subtle, like a slight tremor, or more obvious, like full-body shakes. This behaviour is different from the normal full-body shake-off dogs do after a bath or a romp in the grass. Why does this indicate anxiety? Dogs, like humans, have a fight or flight response. In stressful situations, their bodies release adrenaline, which may cause them to shake or shiver. So, if your dog is shaking and it's not cold, and there's no obvious reason for it, they might be feeling anxious. Shivering or shaking could be more than just a physical reaction. It could be a sign of anxiety. Aggression or fear can also be signs of anxiety in dogs. These behaviours might manifest in different ways, and it's crucial to understand them to better help our canine companions. Aggression in dogs often shows as growling, snarling, snapping, or even biting. It's essential to remember that these are not necessarily signs of a bad dog. More often than not, it's a cry for help, a signal of discomfort or distress. Fear, on the other hand, can be more subtle and sometimes even mistaken for shyness or aloofness. A fearful dog might avoid eye contact, tuck its tail, or even attempt to hide or escape. Sudden changes in their environment, unfamiliar people or animals, or past traumatic experiences can trigger these responses. So, how do these behaviors indicate anxiety? Well, aggression and fear are often responses to stress or fear-inducing situations. Anxiety is a form of prolonged stress, and when a dog is consistently anxious, it might resort to these behaviors as a coping mechanism. It's their way of saying, "I'm not comfortable with this situation and I don't know how to handle it." It's also important to address these behaviors because, left unchecked, they can escalate and potentially lead to dangerous situations. An anxious dog might bite out of fear or become destructive in the house. But more than that, chronic anxiety can severely affect a dog's quality of life, leading to physical health issues like digestive problems or a weakened immune system. Addressing these issues often involves identifying the source of the anxiety and working to alleviate it. This might include behavior modification techniques, environmental changes, or even medication in severe cases. Remember, it's always best to consult with a professional, such as a veterinarian or a certified dog behaviorist, when dealing with these issues. In conclusion, it's important to remember that our dogs don't act out of malice. Their behaviors are a window into their emotional state. So, aggression or fear in your dog might be a sign of deeper anxiety issues. We owe it to our furry friends to understand and address these signs, helping them lead happier, healthier lives. Recognizing the signs of anxiety in your dog is the first step to helping them. Let's recap the signs we've discussed to ensure you have the tools to notice if your dog may be struggling with anxiety. First, excessive panting. It's normal for dogs to pant, especially after exercise or in hot weather. But if you notice your dog panting excessively when there's no apparent reason, it could be a sign of anxiety. Secondly, pacing or restlessness. Dogs often move around a lot, but when they're anxious, they may pace back and forth or seem unable to settle. This can be a clear sign that something is bothering them. Thirdly, excessive barking or howling. While dogs are naturally vocal creatures, too much noise can be another sign of anxiety. If your dog is barking or howling more than usual, and especially if it happens when you're not there, it might be due to anxiety. Fourthly, shivering or shaking. Dogs might shake when they're cold or excited, but if you notice your dog shivering or shaking when there's no obvious reason, this could be a sign of anxiety. Lastly, aggression or fear. Changes in your dog's behavior, such as suddenly becoming aggressive or overly fearful, can be a strong indicator of anxiety. It's important to remember that your dog isn't trying to be difficult. They're reacting to something that's causing them distress. Recognizing these signs of anxiety is crucial, not only because it's distressing for your dog, but also because untreated anxiety can lead to more serious behavioral issues. If you notice any of these signs, it's important to consult with a professional, like a vet or a dog behaviorist. They can provide advice and treatment options, such as training techniques, lifestyle changes, or even medication in severe cases. Remember, your dog can't tell you when they're feeling anxious, so it's up to you to recognize the signs and help them live a happier, healthier life.